running back to his right. He's got 4 receivers. Milrow looking, throwing deep. He's got Ryan Williams caught. He's running down the sideline. Breaks a couple tackles. Running. Touchdown, Alabama. What a play. Touchdown, Alabama.
And here's the snap. Hands it to Audric Estime. And that is and should be a touchdown. Here we go. Bryson Barnes has got his back behind him. It is Jaquindon Jackson. Here's the snap. Bryson Barnes looking deep. He's got a man. It's caught! He's got touchdown early. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to College Football Wraparound. And, of course, that is our new intro for this season for college football. And it's a Saturday night, so why not bring you some college football? It's August, and so it's time to start talking about some college football. And who better to join me than Jack, my father? Jack, how are you?
Doing good, Cooper. Good to be with you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has, and I'm very excited to get this video here tonight because you got a bunch of predictions. Now
I do, and you know nothing about them, so I got some good ones for you.
So if you've watched my channel much, you know that I've kind of already done a lot of my predictions for the season. So
yes,
it'll be mostly I'll let you do a lot of the talking and explaining your predictions, and then I'll basically comment on what I think about it.
All right, this sounds good to me. I know you and Colton did about a week or so ago. Y'all did y'all, so I've got mine put together. So you want to start? You want to start with the Heisman finalists? I got 4 guys on there.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, you may have to help with some of the names, but the first one I'm going with is Cade Klubnik, Clemson quarterback. Probably the top-rated quarterback coming back this year, I would think. Going to be with one of the better teams. So most time, if you actually go back through history, if you have a good team, quarterback usually gets a lot of attention. And as I look back at his stats, I didn't realize he threw like 36 touchdowns on like 9 interceptions last year. So he actually had a good year. They didn't really beat anybody big, losing. But I look for him. I think Clemson's going to be one of the better teams this year. We'll get that later. Number 2, Drew Aller, Penn State. Same type of deal. One of the better quarterbacks coming back. Penn State should be one of the better teams. So most time your quarterbacks of the better teams usually get a lot of attention and a lot of votes. Number 3, I'm going to go with Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. You always got to have somebody in there that has big numbers. Probably won't be the best team, but I got him on there. And the last one, to me, is the obvious one. It's probably the bet now, Arch Manning. You have to put Arch Manning in because Texas is number 1. It's a Manning, so he's going to get a lot of attention. That's the 4 I got right now. And I know there'll be some receivers, like Ryan Williams and Ohio State's got a receiver. Other guys are there, but most of them as a quarterback award. If you have to go back through the history, I know last year it wasn't, but for most time it's usually the quarterback wins this. So that's the 4 I got.
You bring up those stats. That is something you don't think about with Cade Klubnik, is people want to hate on him for how he performed in the big games. Like against Georgia, he didn't look good.
The whole team looked bad, right?
Yeah. I mean, the way they got beat at home to Louisville, the way they got beat at home to South Carolina last year.
And Texas game really wasn't competitive.
Yeah. And, of course, the ACC championship game, that was kind of just – yeah. But I do agree. I think Clemson would be better. However, I mean – I guess I could see Cade Klubnik in the Heisman race, but I don't know if I have a lot of trust in him. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I would say the reason I put him up there, if they go out that first week beat LSU, he's going to skyrocket real high. If Texas beats Ohio State, and Arch Manning has a big game, say throws 3 or 4 touchdowns and, throws for 350 yards, whatever, and they beat Ohio State on the road, that's your 2 right there, probably be at the top. Drew Aller, because they don't really play nobody the first 2 or 3 weeks. So you're going, whatever. And And left at Arizona State's going to be one of them. Nobody's really going to keep. They'll watch him, but it's not really going to be noticed. Klubnik and Orange are going to be the main two everybody's going to talk about most of the year.
Right. I'll say this. The one, I mean, if there's one truly, though, that I truly don't think I see, like at the end of the year, I don't, like me personally, I don't see him on this list, is Sam Levitt, just because, and I mean, I think this year is going to be a really good test for Arizona State. And that is, was it Sam Levitt the reason why they were so good last year? Or was it their running back, Cam Scadaboo? That's the real question I have. And if it's how I think it is, I don't necessarily think Arizona State's really that good of a football team. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the one I didn't put in there is Nussmeier from LSU.
Mm.
If they go to Clemson that first week and win that game, then you can look at his. I mean, the winner of that game is probably going to have the quarterback skyrocketing. Oh, here's probably the top quarterback, and it just because they're probably the 2 or 3 quarterbacks everybody's looking at. But that's the 4 I got, and I would probably add Nussmeier and have a 5th one. I'd probably put him on there too.
Yeah, I do believe Nussmeier is going to have a big year. One thing to keep an eye on, though, is that a couple days ago I did see a report that he has some knee tendonitis going on.
Right.
So of course, his knee, that is something to monitor as far as his effectiveness. Because, a lot of what LSU likes to do, if you remember Brian Kelly in his first couple of years at LSU, he had the mobile quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Nussmeier, not as athletic, but still a heavy dose of what they do is being able to get the quarterback out and run.
True. I agree with you on all that. So the next category I go to, I'm going to hot seat coaches. We all like, me and you, we all like talking about these. So I got about 7 names on here, and a couple of them are not guys I'm worried about getting fired, but the pressure's on them. Number 1, Sam Pittman. Personally, I don't know why he's even still there. I'm really shocked he's stayed there, but we won't go too far in that one. I think he's number 1. Number 2, Mike Norvell at Florida State. If they lose to Alabama, if they don't win, I say one thing. I said bet one of the bet online. Florida State predicted maybe 5 or 6 wins. If they don't win 5 6 games, he's not going to be there. He's gone. The third one, and I'm Brent Pry. I think that's his last name, from Virginia Tech. Watched him last year. I won't say it was a Miami game, but he basically blew that game. I think it was Miami they were playing.
I think it was like a Friday night against Miami.
Yes, he went for 2, and he did some just, in my opinion, dumb coaching. I think that's 3. The 4th guy, I don't know if he's a hot seat, but as far as being fired, but it's Hugh Freeze. After what happened this summer and all the whole I'm golfing and the whole deal with that, and there's a lot of people think Auburn's going to be a really good team this year. They got really good receivers. If Jackson Arnold comes out and plays what people think he can, offensively, Auburn's going to be a really good team. But we don't know. And it was reported about a week ago that Hugh Freeze was telling his defense, take it easy on Jackson Arnold. He's trying to get his confidence up. So I don't know. It's stuff you hear it all, but I don't. But that's 4. The 5th one, Brian Kelly. I mean, he has to go back and look. Coach O, Saban, Les Miles all won championships. Les Miles and Coach O won within like a 3rd or 4th season. So this year 4, Brian Kelly. And the LSU people are not very patient. Let them lose that first game at Clemson. That'll make 4 straight years he lost the first game. He needs that first win bad to get the media off of him and the fans. He's the 5th one. These last 2, I don't think are worried about being fired, but Cristobal at Miami. He's got so much talent. He brought it all in, but yet they can't win a big game. They just seem to, probably should have been in the playoff last year. They were probably one of the better 12 teams, but you don't, was it 2 years ago they blew the Georgia Tech game instead of taking the knee, trying to run the ball, and they blew it. So that's on him. And the last one is probably surprising, but it's Josh Heupel at Tennessee. After the quarterback deal, when he transferred, with Nico, all that whole deal, and he come out and basically said that nobody's above the team. And I like what he said, but now you better win, because basically they make out like you didn't want him there. I don't think he's getting fired, but you also go back to when he was at Central Florida. Did really good to start, and they went in town. Tennessee, What it won 10 games? Was 2 years ago? Made the playoffs last year. Go win about 6, 7 games this year and see what they do. So that's 7 guys I got as far as hot seat. If you want to call being fired, there's plenty more, but those be 7. You mentioned Ryan Day. I would also say Sharon Moore, Michigan. I think him. I think Brent Venables at Oklahoma. I think there's several guys like that that's really got to have a good year. But that's the 7 I got.
I'll say this, and I mean, as far as the LSU thing win national championships, if I believe correctly, they've won the championships they've won, and as far as them playing in the championship game, has only been at the Sugar Bowl. I think that's so. I mean, I'm not trying to say like that dictates how LSU does, but they've tended to only win the championship there. Now, of course, this year the game's going to be played in Miami, so should be interesting.
No, I agree. But the one thing with LSU though is that they always have talent. Even for everybody talking Nick Saban, Nick Saban inherited a ton of talent. But when you're the main school in that state and the state is loaded, you keep those kids there. And you built it. And Coach Saban built that up. Les Miles for his shortfalls. He won a championship, played for one. So, I mean, he kept it up there. Then he had his problems. Coach O, and a person never thought he was a great coach, but he was a great motivator, and he had a great staff around him. If you go back to Joe Brady and the guys he had around him, and Joe Brady actually wasn't calling the plays, but it was his offense. I mean, you got the whole, but still, you had a good staff around him. And then Les Miles and Saban did too, but Jimbo Fisher was with them, and so yeah. But I say the pressure is on Brian Kelly. At least he got to at least make the playoff. If he don't make the playoffs, he may be out.
Yeah, especially okay. And I mean, I think there's a couple SEC schools that are like that, but LSU and Alabama are 2 that really come off to my head that are like, okay, it's a 12-team playoff. If you're not making it to that consistently, right, then there's a problem.
No, I agree. Especially, I mean, I'm gonna go back to LSU. If you look at just pure talent in the SEC, you're gonna look at Alabama, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Oklahoma's got a ton of talent. I mean, you got the 5-6 schools that every year is going to be up there in that talent. You got to at least make the playoffs. I mean, same deal with Alabama. DeBoer's got to make the playoff. I don't think he's in jeopardy of being fired, but let them go 9-3 this year and not make the playoff and look bad in a couple of games, and we're going to see what kind of pressure he's going to be under next year. That's just, and you see the shirt, I'm in Alabama, but that's the truth, that he will be under a ton of pressure next year. But that's who I got. And okay, so we'll go to do surprise teams. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. I got 3. Well, I think it's going to be good, better than what people expected. Number 1, I got Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech's going to be a lot better than people think. Your quarterback's back. They beat Miami last year. Am I right? They did beat Miami last year, right? Haynes King. I was trying to think of the quarterback's name. He comes back. Georgia Tech's got a good coach. That's one. The other 2 are, well, second one's Florida. Everybody's talking Florida. I flip-flop back and forth between good and bad. I like Billy Napier. I like what he's done. But there again, I sent a report there today. DJ Lagway was hurt too. Got a little nagging injury. If he gets hurt and can't play, that's going to kill their team because they don't have a really good backup. Well, a lot of teams are like, yeah, but definitely Florida. That's 2. The third one's one that you'd probably not going to think about. And they go back and forth through the years, Oklahoma State. Usually if you go back through the history and they're good, they're really good, then they go bad, then they usually flip-flop. They were pretty bad last year. So I'm not saying they're going to be like a 9-10 win team, but I think definitely bowl, maybe top of the Big 12. I got them. So that's the 3 I got for good or better, whichever term you use.
I'll say this about Ollie Gordon, who was the running back at Oklahoma State last year. If I'm correct, which this is kind of funny, but I think last year when I was doing my predictions, I believe I had Ollie Gordon in the Heisman race. He was that good. He was that good 2 years ago.
Yeah, and then what happened? I don't know what happened to him last year. It just didn't. The whole team just didn't play. I don't know. I mean, I think Gundy's a good coach. So there's always problems, but whatever their problem was, they just it didn't mesh. And I seen a thing a couple of weeks ago where he said they have like, I think 20 something transfers in. And he said, they're going to play. He said, why am I bringing the transfer if I'm not going to play them? So, and then that's the way the whole college is going to be. You have so many guys moving around, but I don't know. I just take Gundy. I like him, and usually every year or two he has one of them teams. You go like, "Whoa, this team really didn't." You weren't expecting that, and all of a sudden they're sitting there at 8, 9, and 1. You're like, "Oh, okay." But that's my 3 surprise good teams. Now the bad
Yeah.
ones. Now you're gonna have some good laughs about this one. I already know how you are. Number 1, Tennessee. I think the quarterback. I know they have a quarterback, but I don't know. There's something about the whole deal over the offseason. I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling for them.
They're definitely not a playoff team this year.
No, but what's their ceilings? 8 wins. I mean, I think they play Georgia about the 3rd game of the season. So we'll find that real quick. And in fact, they opened up with who did it? They opened up pretty good the first game. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm trying to remember who they played first game, but still, we'll find out pretty quick about them. My second team, Indiana. Come on, they shouldn't have did what they did last year. I know schedule's not any good, but I just don't. I think they're one hit wonder.
Yeah.
I like the coach, but I just don't think they. I mean, maybe 6, 7 wins, but they're not going to be up there to play. I don't see them a playoff team. I just don't. No. Third team, BYU. Unfortunately, we're losing their quarterback. When he had to transfer out, they kind of. And they may have a good. They got 2 or 3 that's supposedly fighting for the job. They may be good enough, but you're taking a guy who was probably an NFL quarterback who had to leave because of what personal issues they had. I'm sure you know the story, but we won't get into all that. But still, yeah, I feel bad for him because I think with him they were a potential playoff team, and I think without him it's just they may still be a 9-win team, but they're not a playoff team. And I got one more, and you're really gonna like this one. North Carolina. I'm sorry. I don't think Belichick and the college is going to work. I don't. I think we got some off-field stuff. He got nipped in the bud. Let's put it that way. And I think it's going to cause problems. But we'll find out real quick. They play TCU at Monday night, Labor Day night. We'll find out pretty quick about them. That's my 4 quote-unquote bad teams or worse than what we expect.
Right.
So that's what I got there.
I'll say this. There's only one game in the whole entire, that first weekend of the season that's going to be an exclusive window, only that game. Well, I mean, there's 3, but that one, only game on Labor Day.
Right.
So most college football fans, and quite honestly, the way I view North Carolina, it's the same thing as like when Colorado hired Deion Sanders. You got a big name, and a lot of people who don't normally watch college football are going to be tuning in just because of Bill Belichick. It's going to be all these people who are big-time Patriots fans. They're going to be tuning in just because of Bill Belichick. That's honestly why they did it, I think.
Yeah, and you're going to have that. It's going to be split. You're going to have the ones like the same with Deion, the ones that absolutely hate him, the ones that love him. So it's not going to be in this. One that don't. It's going to be either way. And if Carolina loses, same deal with Colorado. You always people jump on all over the internet. Oh, we knew I should never hire this guy. So that's what you're going to get. And if he wins, about you should win. You've won 7 Super Bowls. So but I do think Belichick's got a good coach staff around him. But I don't know. It's just something I just don't. I don't think it's going to work.
And I'll say this. I think it's the same feeling that I still hold about Colorado. Is I just don't see it fully panning out because I just don't know. I mean, to me, Colorado just feels like social media and clicks. That's just all I feel like Colorado is.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's a question about Colorado. I don't disagree with you none of this, but what's their window? You lost, a Heisman Trophy winner. You lost your son's quarterback, who everybody thinks is, well, we won't get all that, but still, you lost that talent. Honestly, they may be talent-wise, they may play better and not have a good of a record this year. because you got the quarterback come from Central Florida. The name forget, but then you got the freshman 5-star to come in. So you got 2 talented quarterbacks, and they may be better, this team, but they may only win 6 games. So, and how's people going to look at them? Oh, well, first game, play Georgia Tech. I think you lose that one. I think Georgia Tech's that good. Is that to make Colorado look bad? Well, I mean, I don't think so, because I think Georgia Tech's going to be that good. But, that's why they play the games.
And I mean, I'll say this about Haynes King, bringing back Georgia Tech. It's kind of funny to think about. He started at Texas A&M, and he was a starter there at the beginning of that season. I think he was like a freshman or whatever. He gets hurt. After that, Jimbo gave up on him and went to the other guys like Calzada and guy was there last year. I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, I mean, was King not the one that was quarterbacking out and they beat Alabama?
No.
It wasn't Hellcat, but
That was
he was there,
Calzada.
though. That's right, Calzada, which is at Kentucky now, right?
I think so.
I believe so.
And so here's the one thing I wonder. Had Jimbo not given up on Haynes King, and with how good he's turned out to be at Georgia Tech, do you think they could have? I mean, I know you can't go into what ifs or whatnot, but truly, do you think Texas A&M could have been a really good football team had they kept Haynes King?
Yeah, that was their problem, because Jimbo had that great recruiting staff. About 3 years ago, he brought all the number 1 recruits, brought all the guys in, and some of the quarterbacks was a problem. You hear reports of, well, Jimbo don't want to change his offense. He's the one that's caused a problem. When Bobby Trento, when he there with him at one point, and they said that they didn't mesh, and just all the problems. But yeah, with how A&M had, yes, if the quarterback situation got worked out, they would have been, well, they'd be a 12-team playoff now. But at that point, yes, they would have been one of the better teams, I believe.
Okay. Well, that's what I was thinking the whole time you were talking about Georgia Tech. I was like, what if Texas A&M was able to keep him? That's one thing I was thinking about.
Well, you also look at one of the best Alabama defense linemen Alabama's got, LT Overton. He was at A&M also. So, you had a ton of talent. They just didn't work out for whatever reasons. A lot of problems. But, yeah, it didn't work out. So, now, I'll go to the championship games. I'll give you each conference, give me my championship games. I'll give you my winners. And I will start. Conference we don't care much about. B12. I got Kansas State and Iowa State. I'm going to go Iowa State champion. I don't know. I just don't. I don't keep up with them that closely to B12, but Iowa State, you've got a pretty good team. And Kansas State, kind of like Oklahoma State. They kind of maybe bad one year, but then next year you look up and go, well, here they are again. So that's where I got them. B10, I'm going Penn State and Ohio State. I got Ohio State winning. I don't have confidence in Penn State. That's them. The ACC, I got Clemson and Georgia Tech. I got Clemson winning. Then, yes, and you just see the shirt. So SEC, I got Bama and Georgia. I got Bama winning. Yes, I know the shirt, but I'm going with Bama to win the SEC championship. Group of 5, I got 2 teams, but I'll play with Boise State because they play Notre Dame. So I think the strength of schedule will keep them higher. And Tulane, there's a lot of talk about Tulane being really good this time. I know some other media people actually got them in the top 10. So, but anyway, that's 2 teams of Group 5 I look at. I would go Boise State. So that's my champions. So Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, Iowa State. That's my 4 champions.
Something to mention about the Big 12. I would have to agree with you. I think Iowa State and Kansas State are 2 of the best teams. One thing to note, which I don't know, what this tells, but from what I understand, Texas Tech, out of all the teams in college football,
yes,
they went and spent the most money in the transfer portal and NIL and stuff like that. How does that relate to the football field? Well, Ohio State they spent the most money last year, and they got a championship out of it. So, I mean, you don't know how that's going to go. But I will note about Iowa State and Kansas State. Both of them have veteran quarterbacks who's been there.
right.
You got Rocco back at Iowa State. You got Avery Johnson at Kansas State. Will the will being having that longevity and being there at the teams, do you think that actually helps them get there to the conference championship game and also potentially get to the playoff?
Yeah, I do, because when you got quarterbacks that's been there, especially I'd look at Iowa State. They were the championship game last year, lost to Arizona State, but they were there. You got that veteran quarterback back. He knows when things get tough. He knows how to calm the guys down. He makes the plays. And Iowa State has been one of the better teams in the Big 12 the last 4 or 5 years, but they seem to always lose somewhere that they shouldn't. But yeah, and I don't know. I like Iowa State, and then yeah, Texas Tech. I thought about them too, but and if we go through history, look back to transfer portal, we can look at how teams. You mentioned Ohio State. Well, let's look what Deion did at Colorado first year, and you brought in pretty much cut the whole team. I mean, made a bowl game last year. You had a Heisman Trophy winner, so then you take a team like Ole Miss that Lane Kiffin hits the portal, but not as hard as other people do. And it's worked out pretty good for him, especially the quarterback situation. If you go back to the quarterbacks he's brought in through the portal. But then you got Clemson, who this year I think brought in about 3 or 4 guys through the portal, which is the most they've ever brought in, as far as I know. A couple 2 years ago, they didn't bring nobody. So you get that mesh, and I hate to bring up Clemson, but they're saying this is the year that they've built up because they got all the veteran guys. They got a bunch of young guys that's played. So you got a roster full of guys that's played. So yeah, I don't know. Transfer portal, NIL, all that stuff, how's it work out? Belichick in North Carolina, how's it work out with him? And then the same deal, Alabama had nobody even hit the portal after spring practice through the summer. So yeah, I don't know. It's the way it is now, but it's hard to really know. But the Deion fact that he don't even go to by house, he stays on campus and recruits, but yet he brings in a ton of talent. So, but yeah, the Texas State thing, I don't know how they all mesh. We bring all these guys in, they all gonna mesh together. All it takes is one guy to be a cancer in the locker room. So you don't know, somebody gets mad about this, whatever. So yeah, I thought about Texas Tech, but I just kind of went to 2 veteran teams for the Big 12. 2 I would actually trust more right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, really, if you want to look at a conference that is really wide open, that you really, I would say it's hard to predict, is the Big 12, because, like you said, anyone and everyone can win the Big 12 any given year.
Well, they all seem to beat each other too. And there was Kansas. It was so good a couple years ago. Then the quarterback had a rough year last year. So yeah, you got about 4 or 5 teams in that conference. In Colorado, you don't know if their quarterback plays, and if the offensive linemen are good, then they may make a run. But to me, I just went with the 2 teams that I would trust more right now. In a month from now, I may say that I was stupid picking these 2, but that's the one I go with now.
Yep.
Okay. This is really the craziest thing, but I picked 12 teams for the playoffs. No particular order. I just picked 12 teams in. So I'm going to start, and people will be mad, whatever. And there's not no order. There's just 12 teams. I'm not saying this because I got Bama number 1. I'm not saying they're the number 1 team. I'm saying it's the first team I wrote down. So I want people saying, oh, you Bama got no. So first team I got is Bama. Then I got Georgia, Texas, LSU. I got those 4 from the SEC. Then I got Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon out of the Big 10. Then I got Clemson out of ACC. Got Boise. I picked them as my group of 5 team. And I got Notre Dame. Got them. Went with Iowa State. I got them winning the Big 12. Yeah, I did pick Iowa, I was making sure. Then my 12th team is the surprise team. I got Georgia Tech in the top 12. And the reason I went with that, let's go back last year. Who would really, this time last year, who would ever pick the SMU or Indiana, either one to be in the playoff? I don't think anybody, you're right. SMU may because they won, I think, 10 games the year before. But you think they joined ACC? No. But anyway, so Georgia Tech is my surprise team. I don't know. I mean, just when you try to think of 12 teams, it gets kind of hard without picking people just SEC and Big 10. You got to look around and, Oregon, who knows? Their quarterback plays. That might be the best team out of the Big 10. But look at last year. They went undefeated, lost to Lost first round, first playoff game. Lost at home. So you don't know. And the whole playoff deal, we ain't got time for all that. This is a lot of that's kind of messed up too, the way it's set up. But
I
anyway,
mean,
I
they
go
could
to
have worked on some of that format, to be fair.
well, I didn't want to get into this, but to me, it's not fair for look at last year. Georgia won the SEC championship. They get a bye, but they go to a bowl game. Texas loses. They get to go home and play a home game. So from a logistic point of view, you get to go home and rest. Where team at one, yeah, you get a week off, but you got to get everybody prepared to move to the bowl games. You got all this logistic stuff you got to think about, and it messes up the kids. Where the kids, Texas, Penn State, get to go home. Notre Dame didn't play that week. They all get to play at home. Where these teams who won had to go and play the bowl game. I know everybody's, but you're kind of punishing them for winning. You're getting a week off. Why not let them play at home? Make their team go play the bowl. Hey, Georgia, you won a championship. You can stay at home. Yeah, you get a week off. We're gonna let you play a home game. That way your kids get that 2 weeks. Stay at home, get to practice. You don't have to. The families don't have to worry about getting moved around. It's just logistic point of view. You reward that team for winning. And the seeding stuff, they had that messed up too. But Boise State, were they one of the best 12 teams? Not really. They were good, but they really won the 12 best. Not really. But anyway, we'll get off all that. But anyway, that's my 12 teams I picked. And, honestly, picking the Final Four was kind of hard. But I went in, I picked the Final Four. I mean, there again, people call me stupid, but go ahead, get a good laugh. My Final Four, I got Georgia and Clemson playing each other one game. The other one, I got Alabama, Penn State playing. Okay, I got Clemson and Bama, and I got the shirt on. I'm picking Clemson to win that championship. I think this is a redemption year for them, and they can win. And the crazy part is, they could lose 2 or 3 games and still win a championship. They could lose their conference games, win their conference, you're in the playoffs. So I'm going with Clemson to win it, even though I do get the Bama shirt on, and I will be rooting for them. I'm going with Clemson. I'm going with a surprise team.
I'll say this. If there was a way that Dabo Sweeney could really shut up the haters, it'd be similar to what Ryan Day did last year. I mean, well, sort of. Ryan Day sort of did that. He didn't beat Michigan, which, that's huge for Ohio State, is beat Michigan.
Right.
So if you're Dabo, that would be a great way to get the haters to shut up if you go and win a championship and get your third one. I mean, that would be crazy.
Right. And
now, the one that I'm really interested to get your explanation from is Penn State, because to me, I have not seen them win a big game other than when back in 2016 when they were unranked and they beat Ohio State at home and they found their way in the Big Ten championship game. That was the only time I actually remember Penn State actually winning big games.
I know. I totally agree with you. I don't really have an explanation. I just, I got picked 4 teams, but Ohio State, I don't know. Do I really trust Ryan Day to make it again? And I'm looking at maybe potentially how the season works out. Maybe they'll run into Georgia. I know Georgia got a new quarterback. I know he played a game or 2 last year, but it's Georgia. Kirby Smart's got Georgia built up the same as Alabama. Saving that Alabama, they're the same. You just look at them every year, go, this is a team. This is the playoff team. If the quarterback plays halfway decent, this team's going to be there. Penn State, I don't know. I just, they made the Final Four last year, right? Running the semifinal last year. It probably shouldn't have been. But,
to be fair, Penn State, they played SMU at home. That was a blowout. Right. And then they went to Arizona and played Boise State.
Right. So, no, I agree. A lot of people say, well, you picked Georgia Tech in the 12, but yeah, so I don't know. I just wrote these down a while ago. It's kind of like, I'm not trying to be a homer because, I think Bama's going to be a lot better than people are expecting. I do think Ty Simpson's going to be a lot better than people are thinking because the media people are thinking it's not going to. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe this time Penn State actually wins. Who really thought Ohio State last year was a playoff hit? Who really thought they was going to win it? Who really truly thought Notre Dame was going to win the next championship game? I didn't. I didn't think Notre Dame was that good. they made it. Don't forget, Notre Dame lost to. I forgot who they lost to, but they lost the game about third week of the season last year. They shouldn't even. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I can't remember who it was, but we was in Tuscaloosa when that happened. They lost. You're like, how did y'all lose to them?
Northern Illinois.
There you go. A couple years ago, they lost to Marshall at home. So, I mean, Ohio State, because of the way the 12 team playoff got that second chance, I don't know. I'm going Penn State. I don't know.
And the other team that I did hear you say that I was like, with how you're talking about them, I hope you have them in is Georgia Tech. Like, I know you threw them in there.
Yes.
But I was like, if you're going to build them up, I was hoping you would put them in, and you did. So,
Yeah, I mean, I go back, 12 teams, we can sit there and honestly, we can look back and go, oh, Ole Miss may want to bear 12 teams, Texas Tech may be that. There's a bunch of them. We can sit there and go like, hey, I know you and coach them, and I do too. We like Nebraska, but we don't know if they're really a top 12 team. But you get all these teams that could be. But we also got to look at the ACC. That just Miami. That's another one. There's a lot of people build up Miami. But here's the question about Miami. You just lost the number one draft pick, top draft pick quarterback. You got Cam Ward last year. You bring in Carson Beck this year. This time last year, everybody's talking about him being the first quarterback pick, the top pick. So, which Carson Beck are you getting? Is he going to be better than Cam Ward? Is your team better or worse? Some people think they're better this year. Well, I mean, really, I don't trust Carson Beck. And I just me. I watched him miss big games, throw several interceptions. And I know it wasn't all his fault, but quarterback gets to blame for everything. If he throw 3 or 4 interceptions, they go, well, the quarterback must be bad. He gets all the blame. So, but you're Miami with that talent. But there again, you got to win the big games. You can't sit there and lose to Georgia Tech or you better beat Notre Dame. You got to play them first game of the season at home. You better beat that one. If you lose that one, then people go, well, here we go again. Y'all going to win 8, 9, 10 games and be left out of the playoffs. So, yeah, there you are. There's several teams like that, and there's some more teams that we ain't even talked about. Could be right on the cusp of getting in the playoff, and but I got to pick 12, so that's 12 went with.
Here's the question I have when you bring up Notre Dame. That is, let's imagine a world where, which if I'm believed correctly, like 3 of their bigger games they have this season: Miami, Texas A&M, and Boise State, if I'm correct, I think, from looking at their schedule. Let's say there's a world where they end the regular season 9-3. Now, imagine those 3 games are the ones you lose if you're Notre Dame. Is there a world where you could see potentially, with the 3 losses, they still find a way to get in?
Without them having a conference championship game, it would probably be harder for them. Say, Clemson. I say Clemson could, because you could potentially lose to LSU and South Carolina and lose a conference game somewhere along the line and still win your conference, and 3 losses you're in. I was winning conference. Yeah, I would say that's the thing that would hurt Notre Dame. But, but you're looking at Notre Dame's schedule. Yes, the Boise State plays at Notre Dame. They play USC. I think they'd be at Notre Dame also. I think so. They did go to Miami, but it's first game of the season, warm weather. But they could lose that game. But you go, well, you lost at Miami first game. That's not going to hurt you, because teams that lost first game of the season still make a run. Especially now with a 12-team playoff, you can lose a game or 2. But long story. But without the conference championship game, that's going to hurt them though, because you're sitting there a week not playing, and all these other teams are going to be playing. You could end up, you could be like Bama, Georgia. You could be sitting there. Texas ain't playing, but Texas maybe only lost 1 game. They may have lost to Georgia. The only game they lost, but Notre Dame, they wouldn't have one of these games. You go, wow, we beat that team. Unless Miami runs, let's say beat Miami first game of the season, Miami runs the table, and they're sitting there like 11-1. You go, well, we beat the Miami, beat them. Notre Dame's not going to have that one game where I go, yeah, LSU, Clemson. If LSU beats Clemson, I go, well, hey, Clemson wins ACC. You got that game to look at. So I know I'm rambling around, but no, 9-3 Notre Dame would be really, really hard to get in unless you got a bunch of 3-loss teams. Then you get into a bunch of who knows what the committee's going to think then.
Right. Well, I don't remember. Did you say you had any more predictions?
Nope, that's all I got for now. I'm hopefully, things work out. We can get together maybe another week and start talking about the first week of the season because there's some really good matchups and there's some really good storylines. I'm just looking at Texas Ohio State. Big game, just got a storyline because you got two coaches. I know Ryan Day did win last year, but he has a history of not winning big games. Sark, he lost two times to Georgia last year. You hadn't really won the big games. You got those. Florida State, Alabama's another one. You mentioned Notre Dame, Miami. There's 4 or 5 games you can sit there and look at. Go, what's some big storylines and what's going to happen? If this team wins, this team gets beat. Who's going to be the team that everybody thinks really good that gets beat the first week? Who's the big upset? There's so many of them. There's a lot of storylines. So yeah, maybe we'll try to get together maybe next week and we'll start talking about the first games. Maybe we'll do some more previews of certain teams or whatever. But hopefully, Cooper, maybe this year I get a chance to do more with you this year.
Okay. Well, this has been fun, and this is all his predictions. He wanted to come on and just basically give us his predictions since he didn't get a chance to do it with us that night. Me and Colton did it. So, thanks for coming on.
Well, I appreciate it. I actually enjoy being on with you. And then I'm going to talk to our producer, and you know who I'm talking about. I'm going to get his picks so we can see how he picks because, he don't want to be on camera. That's fine. I'm good with that. We're going to get his picks too, though, because we need his to add to it. I think you agree with that.
Yep. Well, folks, this has been a fun night. And so, of course, we thank y'all for tuning in. And, of course, we will see you. Oh, real quick. That intro that I showed at the beginning of the video, we're going to have just that intro posted. I think it's Tuesday. I have it scheduled to post. So be on the lookout for that. But that's all I wanted to say. Either way, thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you again later. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.